What is going on, guys, and welcome on into the live. Happy Tuesday, because the market is now officially open for the week today. We had yesterday was, a day off, and now here we are today with a dump fest is essentially what we got. I have QQQs pulled up. We're down over 2%. Here's kind of my line in the sand that I have, because I have puts, as you guys know from last week. We were talking about this, and also in Saturday's video, we update the portfolio. So I had puts to hedge myself, about like $600 to $1,000 to about $1,000 in puts, which you know how that stuff works. Like the puts I have for QQQ today are up 166%. So it's a pretty decent hedge, and that's what I did, and it worked out really, really well. I don't want to say I got lucky, but they were a hedge for a reason. So if it reclaims back up over this kind of level and it gets firm, I'll get out. But as long as it keeps stair-stepping down, I'm going to stay in these. That's the last thing I have. I had IWM puts. I had SPY puts. I sold. I trimmed that out kind of slowly. So I sold the SPY puts pretty much at the open. So if I go to SPY, I sold that at the initial flush in the open. Yeah, could I have gotten a little bit lower? Sure. But I locked those in. They were up over 100%, which was nice off of, buying them at the close. Literally, I bought them at the close yesterday, like on the stream, or Friday on the stream. IWM, nasty stuff on IWM. This dipped down under 210. I sold my puts on the way down on this guy, got out of those. Don't need to be in them. Do I think we can get a flush below tomorrow or the rest of this week? Sure, but I don't need to be in that. The risk reward on that trade to me isn't as high, because I think that flush through is where I want to dip by. So that's my I guess thought process behind it. So we'll see. But I'm just riding the QQQs. That's the last thing I got left. I currently have one of these puts, 378 puts. Currently, right now, it's going for 669. So it's I bought it at 448. So I didn't really get the best entry price. I could have sold it up around 550 last Friday, and then last Friday, this thing closed at like in the twos. So yeah, it's pretty wild move there. But I'm gonna hold that one for now, and that's just really it. Unless we can kind of get back up over this little zone that I got. So we'll see. We will see. Yeah, honestly though, in terms of small caps for what I have, they're not doing too bad. We got what do we Effect is up, man, but these are super low volume, so you can't tell. VISL had news, NSPR had news, at least for me. They had news, but they didn't move. It's just the market we're in, right? But honestly, not too terrible across the board. And my small caps, based on how bad the market does look, I would expect it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was much worse, is kind of how I see it. So we'll see. BBIG made some really nice moves today. What did it push up to? Where did we got? It hit 550, exactly kind of that level that I had. So every 50 cents has been kind of crucial. So 450s is kind of where it pushed up to in pre-market, consolidated at that 450. Then it pushed to 550, nice, and now it's still building higher lows. And the trend is still there. Look at this trend. Since, go back to Friday, this trend's been really, really strong on BBIG. So we'll see if it can break 550 today in the after hours or something like that. We'll see what happens. All right, QQQ, go back to this. Yeah, I'm just watching. I think I may just get out of these things relatively soon, but it keeps getting rejected at this point. So I'm going to stay in until that point proves to no longer be resistance and it breaks through, which I wouldn't be surprised, especially because you get these big drawdowns. We've kind of generally seen the market tend to push up into the close. It kind of has, at least that's been the trend, and now it's pushing. So I'm going to get out of those just because I don't need to be in them into the close, and I've already made some nice gains in those. So we got what do we got? We can get like 610 for these. See if I can get 610. That should fill, hopefully, in a second. Come on. 610. Nah, 610 might not fill. Maybe a little pullback on QQQ. It just popped pretty hard. But NASDAQ's still down 2%. S&P 1.5%. Dow 1.2%. Dow is, they were all, at one point say earlier, now that filled. So the QQQ, I'm out of that put now. So out of those puts, only puts I have now is Lucid. I only have one of these because I'm not scared, but I do see a lot of negative sentiment right now on this because tomorrow's the end of the lockup and everyone's expecting it to dump. So it may not. So I'm thinking maybe tomorrow this thing dumps initially or it gaps down overnight or something like that. And then it kind of is followed by a really nice dip buy opportunity. So I have one put on the 39s for those just, to play it a little bit, but I wouldn't be against, getting out of that, taking a small L on that, just one of them. So that's like just under $2 right now. swinging Neuro overnight. I actually have. I don't tend to day trade small caps. At least I haven't been, a big fan. But it's doing the exact same thing as SBEV. So look at SBEV from our stream Friday, and this time I'm not going to be stupid. I'm going to at least be there for this, right? So SBEV, we drew this box, and then we were going somewhere else, look at some other stuff, and then boom, the thing just exploded from from where we're looking at it. Exploded up over 50%. Now I don't know if Neuro's going to do the exact same thing, but Neuro, you go back to the daily chart on this thing. Look at the history. This thing went on a massive run in a month that's generally not like a crazy hot month for small caps. The thing went from looks like down under $3 or around $3 to over 38, like over 1,000%. Insane. So I'm not saying it's going to do it again, but it's having a nice day. So it's done it before, and so that's what I'm looking for. I only have 150 shares of it just because it's like I'm not playing that thing with super size. Also, IMTE, I have a little speculation this is going to be one of those liquidation type plays, one of those Chinese liquidation plays. So I looked into them a little bit. Yeah, they're in a decently hot sector. I don't get me wrong, and they've been trending up. I entered 75 shares short just to play the game, because what these have been kind of doing is that they have these crazy runs and then they have these huge pullbacks, like 25, 50%, right? On some of these other low flows. Now, again, I'm not going to, that's why I only have 75 shares. I'm not going to be playing this thing with size, like any size. But we're getting up into kind of like these previous spikes that we've seen on the stock. So I'm looking to see over $10, I'll add a little bit more. If I get an average around 10, I'll hold that for 1 to 2 weeks max based on the current hard to borrow rates. 42% is fine. I don't want to hold that for too long. 42% is fine, at least for me, based on the type of move I'm expecting or looking for on this thing. So we'll see. Obviously, I'll have a stop out point probably over this high right here. We'll see what happens. We'll see though. I'll be careful, but I'm not gonna. I think starting a short, very small up here is a pretty good spot, and then looking for. I'm not obviously. I'm looking to average in one more time, double that position size up into the 10 plus zone, and we'll see if it holds up there and it continues to kind of like. So if we get an explosion type of day, squeeze out, and it holds, that's kind of the trigger or the signal for me to get out. But if this thing, like I'm talking about, this thing makes a 30, 40, 50% move in a day, I mean, I probably won't be in for that. But I'm just kind of starting in as a speculative short idea. So we'll see what happens. By the way, Neuro, let's take a look at Neuro. As we're speaking, it's pushing up here. This thing might be squeezing out into the close. So I'm looking for 750 as a level. I'm looking for a quick break over the high of the day. I'm going to take 100 off out of 150, and then we'll ride the 50 with a trailing stop loss probably is the idea. This had a little bit of weird action earlier today, though. It had tried to kind of curl up and potentially run back up into the sevens, and it did. And it got to it broke $7, and it got crushed back down to like 627. So I put a little alert because I bought some shares, like, I forget when. Put an alert there, and I was like, hey, if it drops under 625, I'll just get out. I didn't want to put a stop loss there because, we can get these wicks. I'll go back and check it if it drops under 625 and get out with the 650 average. It was like, okay, what am I going to lose? Like $30, whatever, who cares? So like risk $30 for ideally here, looking for like $100+ gain. So it's a pretty good risk reward in my eyes for a small little, fun play is kind of how I see it. Nothing that I'm sizing in too heavy on. If these continue to kind of work though, then I will definitely size up. So we'll see. Only problem I would say with Neuro overnight is if it does follow the SBEV, it needs to kind of go, if it's a slow kind of grinder, then I think that's okay. But if it does this, where it squeezes out super hard into the close or right in the after hours, be careful, because usually that secondary squeeze out is when you want to go short. Shorts kind of get into this thing, they get in a little early, they trap themselves, then it squeezes them out again. The shorts get squeezed, and then that's when ideally you'd look to want to enter. You would want to enter that short. So just be careful. If we do get a big move, I would be taking profits into that move. At least that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, it's really, it's been let's take a look. The market's kind of pushing back up. We got out of those puts on the Qs, and yeah, kind of for good reason. It's still holding up. It kind of had a little wick there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little push back up to VWAP into the close. It's down a lot. I mean, I still think we can see a decent drawdown on QQQ under that 370. The thing is, the risk reward in my eyes, though, becomes just less and less favorable the lower we go. And so I just didn't need to hold those necessarily overnight again. So that's really that. Let's see. Dangerous short on IMT. Yeah, I'm not. It's not like a heavy size. I'm in at 6. What do I have? 75 shares. I mean, the idea behind the thing is I'm looking for like one of those liquidation things where the thing kind of dumps. Like go back to is it Pet V or Pet Z? I forget. Pet V. It's Pet Z. Pets. This thing was kind of pushing up and they had that one day just destruction. JWEL. The same exact thing, right? Hit 25, then just got crushed. There's more where that came. There's a bunch that have been kind of going on the past weeks. That's the idea. I'm starting in small size and hey, like, yeah, could the thing go to 15? Yes, but if it goes to 15, what do I lose? Like a few $100s. I don't really care. It's fine. Obviously, I would look to average in one more time up over 10, and then that's it. But the firmer it gets, the less I'll be inclined to stay, very, very long. But we'll see what happens. That's something that I would never recommend doing anything with a large size. I've done it before in the past and I've gotten screwed, so I'm not going to make that same mistake again. I've also overstayed my welcome on a lot of that stuff too. Way too long, which I will not be doing. Let's see. Yeah, Neuro back over VWAP now. But outside of that though, BBI, that's like a cheap. Do they have news today? Let's check if they got some news. Let's go to this. Because BBI didn't really. It's a cheapo. No, they don't. I don't see any news here. Maybe there is something on Twitter that I haven't seen just yet. But I mean, the thing is like whatever it is, like 20 cents, and it went 100% today. I mean, it hit just shy of 40. So pretty much 100%. Now it's up 67. It's still pushing up. I wouldn't want to be in this. Now I wonder if you can short it. Let's see. Not that I'm gonna do it, but let's just see if you could. No shares available. Okay. Not surprised. DATS is up today. Look at DATS. Interesting. This is funny because DATS is another one where it was hitting new lows. Kind of a popular one. I think you had a lot of bag holders in this thing. And now you're finally getting a day where this thing is up 30, 40%. It's pretty good. I mean, I don't know if this could be an idea. I mean, I don't for a short backside because there's so many bag holders, because everyone will be looking to take profits or at least minimize a loss if they're oh man, I finally got to my average, or I averaged down. It's finally only down 30% now. I'm not down 50%. I'm going to take this off. Maybe that's what you get. I don't know. Personally, I'm not a big fan of saying that, but DWAC has been a beast. Look at this thing. I had this line at like 80 or $77, and that could have been a really good long play too. Wow. As it just has held, this thing has held VWAP all day. It got above early on the 5-minute, and it just held VWAP all day along that white line all day. And now it's extending up into the end of the day. $100 is coming, I think, on this thing. I would not be surprised that happens, tomorrow or this week. I think it's very likely. What else is up on this list? Nothing too big, really. That's just a bunch of little ones that are kind of pushing up here and there, but nothing crazy. Activision got bought right by Microsoft today, so that was a pretty big news. I'm not sure. I thought it was $95 a share, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, but kind of slowly faded off. Now it's curling back up. Let's see. GS for a long... Oh, yeah, I was looking at the banks. This is good. I was looking at these things. Yeah, I had this little zone right here, which actually has worked out. I drew the zone earlier this morning. Didn't, touch it, but I was like, yeah, it's kind of an area that I would want to see a few days it holds up in this zone. I would be looking to go, could be a long idea. So they didn't, I guess they had earnings and didn't perform as well as they, as expectations were hoping, but they dipped down right to kind of the lows that we saw back in June and July. So dipped down to that same exact level. It's kind of my band across our screen right there that I like. So under, 350 is great, down to about 345. But if it falls below that level, this could kind of just bleed out. So no need to kind of risk holding that too long, but just be careful. But I mean, it's not a bad idea after the pullback there. JP Morgan, same setup on JP Morgan too. JPM, right? They had earnings on Friday, I believe, last week. Get rid of this. They had earnings on Friday last week, and then they just plummeted off that. And then again today with Goldman and whatever, and they kind of just felt some more pressure. So they're down another 4% there, which they're getting into an interesting spot too. You just kind of draw some of these, look at some of these lows, some support from the past year. They're coming down to, that sub 150 level could be a really interesting, long zone on JP Morgan right there. I kind of like that. Start picking something up for the long term. You got a dividend there. What do you got? How many dollar per share? One, is that what it is? Dollar. Yeah, it's $1 per share. It's not too bad. Every quarter. I would take that. The short on BBI was at 11 a.m. Let's see. BBI, go back to this guy, popped up. Was it right here? Yeah, I guess 12 for me. Oh, no. It depends on whatever time zone. After hitting those highs and then pushing back to VWAP, and it really has held kind of around VWAP all day. The same level right here, I guess. This is 11 a.m. Eastern time. Popped up here, broke the high of the morning, and then pulled back to VWAP. Nothing. I mean, honestly, there's a nice, that's 12%, I guess. It's a lot because it's a super cheap stock. So, you don't even need a big move. 2 cents is actually a pretty big move on something like this. See if it holds up and maybe it squeezes out into the close. I don't know. We'll see. What else is moving? Oh yeah, I added a little more of this Mesa today. Mesa Air. I added a little more of these. I think I have now a couple of these. I added 1 or 2 more calls today on this guy. $5 calls out to July. I think the airline should have a really nice next couple months. I really do. Now you need the market to firm up. Market's kind of not helping out, but that will change at some point, right? Bought some more shares of Hood at 14.44. I think that's a. Let's see where Hood's at right now. Is it bounced? Did it bounce a little bit? Let's see. Robinhood 14. Yeah, it bounced. This is a fun one. I'm gonna look to this one maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. This is something that I would be looking at for a fairly decent, I would imagine, bounce back trade at some point when we have a green day. It's down 3% again today, but on a green day, this thing can go 10% easily. So if you can catch that thing early, risk lows of the pre-market or lows of the prior day, depending upon where the setup is. When we get a green day on some tech plays, Bitcoin isn't getting crushed. I think this is going to be a really good bounce back trade. I'm sure you can even swing it too, but you got to be careful on that. You got to have to be strategic on averaging in. But even just for a day trade, there will be a really nice day on Robinhood at some point. SoFi, let's see what SoFi is similar. Yeah, wow, SoFi at $12 now. Same thing. I think same thing here. SoFi is pushing down, hitting these lows. Well, I guess you can kind of look back to this point. Let's see. Right here, around $12 could be an area of support. It was kind of like that after that initial run. Since the SPAC days, it pushed up to 13, dipped to 12, and then held up and ran from the 12. So maybe that's an interesting zone for a possible, but there's not too much chart history here. It's, hasn't been trading for a year really. So, but I think SoFi and Robinhood are kind of the same boat. I really like SoFi. I really have, but they're getting hit with the tech and all that, fintech getting killed. And so what's SoFi doing? Let's see. Price of sales is still pretty nasty, 29. Would want to see them grow into that number. Their valuation of 10. What is it? 10 billion. You need to see them grow into that. I think it's in reality. Blink up today. Blink was up today. They got I forget what they got. They got either some news or an upgrade or something. So Blink is up 7% today. It was up more. CHPT, one we've been talking about a lot, not up, but it's, not down that much. Hit 1409 this morning, I guess, or has it hit? No, yeah, this morning, and then it's kind of bounced with Blink, I guess, to some degree. So swinging Hood long on my Roth. I think that should be okay. I really think that will be good. That's eventually what I'm going to be moving towards. I would imagine is a lot more swings in the IRA. Whether that's, large caps, mid caps, smalls, I don't really care. That's probably where I'm going to be moving towards, I would say, in the next couple months, years. That's, but just to play that a little bit, ultimately, right, if you can do 50% a year in that, that's sick. And, if obviously not every year you can do that, or maybe you can if you're more active, depending upon that. I just think that the true, consistent, you can swing and be very good at swinging, but the true consistent, 100+%, 200, 500% per year type traders or whatever, you're doing a lot more day trading, I'd imagine, and you're not playing anything with super crazy size if you're swinging. So it's just difficult ultimately, right? In a crazy market environment, like we had last year and in 2020, yeah, you can do it, and it worked for a lot of people, right? But I'm just thinking going forward, that's probably not going to be as easy, especially when things have been just choppy. So maybe that'll change, in 6 months, things kind of, cool off and slow down, and we can kind of see things coming, and it's not as like random, less choppiness. And maybe that's becomes, swings become a lot more fun and easier. But for right now, it's just been super choppy. I feel like, the day traders are totally, killing it a lot. They're the ones that are killing it really and compounding a lot faster, because, when you can make, again, if you make a 0.5% or 1% on your account per day, or in a day, you don't have to be green every day of the week, right? That is going to add up massively. That adds up to be like well over 1,000% if you average 1% per day on the year, right? You're going to kill it. Let's see. Break and hold of 3 before close and in for overnight swing. Let's take a look at SBV. Splash. Yeah, it's actually, again, same type of thing, right? It almost came back down to the same spot. So it's in the same exact spot almost as where it was on Friday. Came right back, stair-stepped its way down, and now you kind of have, looks like the 280s or so are your support right now. So again, risking from where it's at right now. Oh, sorry. I dropped that guy way too high. You're risking roughly 15 cents to the downside here if you were to play that based on that 80 cent, 280 or so low of the day. Let's see what this is doing. Neuro is interesting. It's just kind of holding up. I will see how this plays out in potential little swing. Also, I don't even know the news. Literally don't even know the news. I probably should look at that. What do we got? Today, FDA breakthrough device designation for treatment of chronic chemotherapy included peripheral. Okay. That sounds neurostimulation technology. That sounds pretty intense, right? FDA breakthrough device is intended to help patients receive more timely access to breakthrough technologies. So I'm not sure what that fundamentally means for the company, to be like how much of a impact that really will have, but sounds cool. So sometimes it doesn't matter. This is one of the, I guess, not the chosen one of the day. You kind of have BBI. For whatever reason, you have DATS that's up more. DATS is going crazy right now. DATS at 350 now. Does DATS have options? No, DATS does not have options. Wonder if they have no shares left. Let's just check. Let's just pretend that we're going to short 390. No shares available. Interesting. But Neuro, I guess, is the next, is like the third top play, I guess, or gainer of the day. BBIG not far behind, trying to grind back up into the close. Looks like 550. I think if you go over 550, you'll probably get 6. It's a gap fill up towards close to 6, so you probably see 6 or at least close to it. If it happens in the after hours, I'd imagine in the after hours, pre-market hours tomorrow, you probably see 6 if it stays strong. What do we got? Qs. What are the Qs doing? Q. Good thing I got out of that. So that was good. I got out of that, and could be a reshort at some point maybe, but the risk reward today is not that good, in my opinion. Let's see. SPY. Let's see. SPY at 458. SPY had an interesting day. It dipped below. Look at this. SPY dipped down below the low from Monday last week, and then it kind of bounced. So it kind of came to that same spot and bounced. So it's interesting. SPY's been an interesting little stock, I guess, or an ETF, right? Because same thing happened. I want to say, we'll see how this plays out going forward the rest of this week. But the same thing happened back here, right? Where we had SPY at the beginning of December. 450 was kind of that line in the sand, psychological level. It hit 2 days in a row. And then the third day, it came back, dumped just under, about $1 under 450. And then everyone's like, look out, downside, here it comes. SPY's going to plummet to 400, 425, whatever. Who knows? Everyone's, fearmonger fest and whatever. And then the thing dips like $1 under the prior support and then just bounces. So like it just kind of messing with you. That's what it seems like. QYLD for long-term investment. Long on NASDAQ 100. Pays monthly dividends. Let's take a look at that. QYLD. Covered call. It's a covered call ETF. So that's an interesting. That's an interesting ETF. Interesting. Look at the long term on this thing. A lot more volume as of late too. That's cool. Let's see. What do we got going on over here? I was looking at the airlines because I've been very, very closely following there. Oh, look at that little bounce back. I was not surprised because I expect them to hold up better, but they're holding up better than I thought on a day like this. So, obviously with the past couple of days being shop fest and whatever. No, I think last Thursday was down. Pretty big down day in the market, and the airlines were up. Today, market's down and Jets is down 1%. That's not bad at all. Shows a pretty big indecision candle right there on Jets, holding the 50 SMA. It's not too shabby if you ask me. I think a bunch of them have some American Airlines just dropped back below that support, which is kind of nasty to see, but down 2%. So there's some more weakness there. What about UAL, United Airlines? What is United up to? No, United's still holding the 50 SMA. It's looking a lot better chart-wise. Delta, DAL, holding the 50 SMA there. Let's look at JetBlue. What do we got on JetBlue? My JetBlue. What are you guys doing? Let's see. American Airlines a little weak. JetBlue's up today. Wow, look at that. Holding the same, building higher lows, holding that trend, holding the 50 SMA. That's pretty solid. That's a pretty strong. JetBlue's been showing a lot more strength than a lot of the other ones as of late. Spirit. Let's take a look at Spirit. How is Spirit doing? 30%. Okay, cool. We'll do some. We have some due diligence to be done on Spirit. I haven't flown Spirit. I don't know if I've ever flown Spirit, but I am flying Spirit on Thursday, and I'm flying United on Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. If I hate it, I don't know if I can justify holding my position. We'll see. But it's been holding a trend, so ultimately, we'll see how it goes. It's cheap. It was cheap. That's why I took it. And I don't really care. Obviously, if you're on like a huge, crazy long flight, yeah, maybe the comfort is a big deal for you. But for me on a short flight, I don't really care. I think, unless maybe I'm going to hate Spirit. I'm going to regret that decision. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go back. Oh, look, the market's pushing up into we got like an hour still to go. It's pushing up. This could be a nice little hammer setup on the S&P. Broke VWAP. Now you're coming into a spot though on SPY that I kind of like for we'll see. This could be kind of a zone to watch right here. The lows from pre-market. Okay, got back up to here. Kind of was our rejection point earlier today as we started to kind of bounce. So we're coming back up into that area. 460 is kind of my level. So we're about $1 away. If we got up to 460-ish, I wouldn't be opposed to more close to 460. I wouldn't be 459 plus, ideally. Wouldn't be opposed to maybe getting puts on that. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at there. I'm surprised a lot of am I surprised? A lot of small cap holdings I have, I guess there's absolutely no volume. So, it is what it is, but like, they're not down that bad. I mean, they on days like this, there have been times where they're down 5-10%. I'm like, holy, like really? But they're not that bad today. So that's, I guess, is that encouraging? I guess, maybe, I don't know. Let's go back to this page and see what the overall, okay. So, right across the board, but 6,800 stocks declining versus 1,400 advancing. We have 1,000 hitting new lows. That's pretty nasty. We have a lot of stocks. Woo, we got like 70% below the 50 SMA, 63 below the 200 SMA. That's pretty nasty. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Percent of stocks under 50 SMA. Let's see if I can find this chart. How's it look now? Go back to this guy and go to candlesticks. And let's update the chart, draw the chart. So we're back to like almost down to like 35. We're down under 40% of stocks below the 50 SMA. That's pretty, I don't know. It's a decent pullback from where we were, 2 weeks ago. But not as low as we got in December. We got pretty low in December. That's pretty crazy. So we'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at some of these oversold plays. Alibaba down. Oh, Alibaba. Look at this. This is a really nice, interesting play. These have been fun to just Alibaba with the range. It's had some really good range. This thing has been, when you see the thing down so much, it seems like it's always bounced. And when it's up a lot, it's always kind of pulled back a little bit. So it's been an interesting trader honestly, the past couple of weeks, ever since kind of like putting that bottom in down here in like 108, 109 area on that bounce back. It's been pretty interesting. What's Neo? Let's take a look at Neo. What's Neo up to? 30 bucks. Neo's kind of holding steady. It's been pretty tame. Had that one random 20% day, and then ever since then, it's kind of just been like, a few percent here and there, up or down, kind of playing up and down with the market to a degree. Lucid is one that I think is going to be on everyone's list for tomorrow, right? Because we got the end of the lockup tomorrow. So let's push it back up a little bit. We'll see what happens. I kind of think that this thing stays under 42. I like it short, but I would be very, very happy to jump and go long on this thing tomorrow if essentially what everyone expects doesn't happen. So everyone is expecting potentially tomorrow to be a sell-off day because the lockup ends and the insiders or whatever are going to dump shares. But what if they don't? Or what if the stock doesn't get killed? Then the thing could just hold up and kind of grind and maybe kind of push up and squeeze out back up into the 45 range. Who knows? Very easily. We'll see. Looking at, let's see what Fun. What's Fun doing? Because DWAC is doing nice. Fun, look at that. Fun's having a squeezer right now. Fun's been good. Actually, Fun has been a really interesting and pretty slow moving play. With DWAC running, Fun's kind of like your sympathy play, and it's been holding trend. So Fun had a setup today where, like, if you missed, there's no. I would say in this market environment, there's no need to chase anything. Don't. If you miss it, you miss it. But to be honest, there's probably going to be a second opportunity. So Fun from the open, right? The thing pops up, goes from 285 to 315. Then it dumps back down to 285. You pretty much could have played this if you were watching it, right? With the pre-market lows down to like 280 being your risk. So you could have grabbed it under 290, so you got 288, 287, something like that. Risk yourself, 7, 8 cents to the lows of the pre-market. And now just like that, you're up like, what is it? You're up from that level, 10%, and you were up more a few seconds ago. So that was a nice little trade too. A lot of little setups, honestly. Like, no, you're not getting the 30, 40, 50% type of setups that you would have, you had a year ago, but you're still getting some solid 10%ers. If you can kind of situate yourself and snag a slow 10%, I take that. And I like that so much more, honestly, than the crazy, up and down squeeze out. Oh my, don't, if you didn't take profits fast enough, you get caught in a knife back down. And it's like, oh man, that's just annoying, I think. VAX. What's VAX doing here? VAX 15%. VAX had an interesting week last week, and then it kind of pulled back, tested the prior this high from back here in early January as a support, and now it's back up 15%. BBI. Let's take a look. I'm curious how this is going to close up today. Pretty flat on BBI. Pretty flat. DATS. 40% hit a little 350 top. Let's see if we can find some resistance points on DATS. All right, so DATS hit right here. Hit a new low on Friday and then bounced today. Had a really nice day. So I'd be watching the 50 SMA. That's going to be up here towards $4. So I think $4 is going to be an interesting. I'll draw a line there at $4. $4 will be also lines up with this high right back in here from early December when it tried to bounce and it couldn't, and it got rejected at 4. So $4 on DATS is where I'd be looking at a stronger resistance point. If it can't get above the 350s like it's doing today, that's your first zone. 350s to 360. If it can't get above there, then maybe that's going to be your top for now. Let's see. Find something else. Let's see. Anything else notable on the top gainer list? Not really. Kind of covered DWAC. Hit $90 though 10 minutes ago. TKLF is an IPO, I believe, right? Yeah, it's an IPO. Up 700%. That's pretty impressive from the IPO price, I guess. Or no, I guess. Look at this thing. It's pretty wild. The range of this thing today. This thing opens up. Oh, where did it open up? It opened up here in the 40s. Gets it halted down, gap down into the 20s, dropped 50%, and then the thing bounced back. Then from the lows of the day at $13, it's now gone over 150% back to here. It's like, what the heck is going on there? I have no idea. So I'm not going to mess with that. SGBX. Oh, you know why? SGBX? Because I think they have a partnership with Blink. And Blink is up today. So SGBX is up as well. See if we can find it. Unless maybe they have other news. SGBX, low float. Price to sales is 0.6. If that's accurate, that's pretty interesting. Their price to sales ratio is 0.6, okay. They don't have anything here, but they're, I believe, partnered with Blink. So Blink's doing well. They're a sympathy play to run with Blink. So, interesting. On SGBX. I was looking, actually, let me pull up my list. Because I had a list from December that I made. Fresh pot of coffee, need a cup. Yeah, I could go for one, honestly. I'm looking at my list that I had from December, just going back to some of the swings, or at least swing ideas that I just had on this list. And I'm curious to kind of go back through and see what some of these are sitting at. So we were talking about on a live stream at one point, OSAT was one we were looking at. So let's see how OSAT, it's still setting up honestly fine. I kind of like it. It's just been, super low volume, super choppy. I kind of like that setup. So OSAT is definitely one I would throw on your radar if you're looking for a small cap possible play. Grill was on my radar. Grill is down to 50 cents. I'm not a huge fan of these things down here at this price point, but it's down a lot. And I think if we go to FinViz, it's probably easier to look at these on FinViz, just to see like their market cap and all that cash and float and stuff. Grill is coming down to a point where like it's getting severely oversold. A $14 million market cap. That's like a super nano cap. Like I don't even know what you want to call that thing. They added franchise sales and training team to support expansion programs. I don't know what's going on here or if they're going to do a reverse split at some point. They might. Well, they're going to probably have to. They're on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has that $1 bid requirement, so they're going to need to get over $1 for 10 consecutive days. Most likely, they've gotten an alert recently or they're about to get one that's going to say, hey, you've got 180 days to regain compliance. So they're probably okay in the short term, but I'd be careful. The longer this thing stays under $1, the higher the likelihood that they're going to probably do a reverse split on that, on Grill. What else is on here? I got a bunch. AYRO. This one that I was in the twos, and then it got destroyed, and I got out because it could keep going lower. Now the thing is down 54 million market cap. I want to say that they got a lot of cash. They have like 80, I think they have like 70 or 80 million dollars in cash. So they got a lot of cash, and they're an EV play. This one's going to have a day at some point. I like this one a lot personally. I'd want to look into the CEO and management and whatever. That's probably the next, I guess, step. But if I clear up some room for another swing, I would be very, very intrigued at playing this one again. We'll see, but I really like that play at some point. Let's see. Next on my list is ATNF. Insider buys they had in December. ATNF. Let's see. What can I pull from here? This is dropping even lower. It's a lower float, 22 million, $100 million market cap. Maybe that's not the best play compared to other ones. But there were some insider buying here. Threes in the 4s and 3s. Where is that now? It's in the 2s. Oh my. So they're down pretty big, but a decent insider buys though, right? They had CEO, COO, interim CFO, director, and some pretty decent names. Nothing crazy though, value wise. Like there's no one bought $1 million worth, but there's some decent insider buying in December. Unfortunately, they could have waited a month and they could have got it a lot lower, but that's at least a good sign confidence wise. But this thing did pop to $7 in early December. So they started buying, I believe, right after that pop, if I'm not mistaken, on the 16th and the 9th. Yeah, they started buying this thing as it came right back down from that pop. And then the market just said, nah, screw you. And it went lower. Let's see, go back here. And we are showing. So Lucid, I have one of these puts, and we'll see, if this thing pops tomorrow to 42, I'll add one more at 42, but I'll leave that pretty much there. 188 is the average. So I'm looking for this thing to make a move to 250 to $3 and make, 50, $100 on it. And that's really it. Nothing crazy, unless we get a crazy dump tomorrow, which I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm also not really expecting or not really going to be like, I'm hoping and praying for that. All right, yeah, look at that. Here's SPY. So far, the trend's still holding up. Higher lows are still holding up, but it got rejected into that band that I was looking at. So that could have been a good short opportunity. puts or something like that. Dow, how's the Dow doing? Dow is, looking a little bit better. Boeing, well, let's see what Boeing was doing really strong. Boeing was setting up really nice last week. Now it's green. Look at that. Boeing's green. Interesting. Boeing is green. Look at that. I mean, this chart, you would never think that the market, if you compared, right, the S&P to Boeing, you'd be like, what? Those aren't the same. Those are like completely different companies. And obviously the S&P is not a company, but you'd be like, what the heck's going on here? Because Boeing has been really holding up throughout the down, pull that we've been seeing on the S&P and the NASDAQ. Boeing, look at this, has been really strong since the 20th. It bottomed out on the 20th of December and is pushing up. I'll see what the S&P did. The S&P on the 20th was our kind of our bottom right here, our short-term bottom. Maybe we go lower this week or next week, who knows? But we bottomed out. That was our low, and then it rebounded really nice. So Boeing was a part of the rebound. But Boeing, the past 2 weeks on the recent pullback from all-time highs, has been like, screw you, we're going higher. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've been getting on Boeing. Interestingly enough. BAC earnings, I don't know, because the banks have been getting hit. So I think here's the thing. They have after the bell, I believe, right? They have earnings after the bell. If I'm not mistaken, Bank of America reporting this week. Let's see if I can find. No. I think they're reporting after the bell, if not mistaken. So on BAC, we're at the 50 SMA right now. The charts and, for Goldman Sachs, for JP Morgan, they have been getting it nailed, right? So I could see us waking up tomorrow and we're down here in the mid to low, we're down here at like 44, 43 on Bank of America. So I don't know, but because everything kind of dumped, if they have a decent earnings or they maybe surprise, they've already factored in a pretty big pullback today. Now, that didn't matter for, some other ones, JP Morgan and whatnot, but they already pulled back a good bit today. So, if I'm going to buy puts, does it make sense? No. I mean, if I'm going to buy 46 puts, maybe it's not terrible, to be honest with you, but not bad. Not terrible. But then you're going to need this thing to be, because you're at 46, 41. So you're going to need this to be at 45, essentially, for that to work out. So can you get a move to 45? What is that? Pull back from here. That's about a 3% dip. You're counting on a 3% dump on earnings just to kind of make a few bucks on those puts. I don't know if it's worth that. Call side, let's see the calls. If I was going to go for 46 calls, you got to be at 47.25 essentially to make money. So 47.25 means if you're buying calls here, then you would be looking at, you need about a 1.5% bounce back. That risk reward seems better to me on the call. They're definitely factoring in a bigger move to the downside here on the options. But I wouldn't mess with that. I'd wait for the reaction and play the opposite, or wait for them to kind of settle down. Like JP Morgan might be one that I think is a great long, but you want to wait for that to settle down for a couple of days, and maybe it comes down into this range, and then you get a sub 150 ad, and you can buy it sub 150, and it has a good year. Then great, DWAC 87, BBIG 508. These are kind of falling off a little bit. Not really that bad, but BBIG is kind of coming closer to our trend line roughly. DWAC about $3 off the highs, but it can snap back up there very, very fast. Let's go back to SPY and see how SPY is going to finish up here. We got about 50 minutes left to the close, not JP Morgan. SPY. Yeah, so okay, it's trying to hold up here. 457.50 was the bounce right there. I was even thinking about possibly looking at like a BBIG spread play, like a put spread. But give yourself time. So let's just see. Let's look at it and see what we can do. Not for this week, but maybe you go out to like March, something like March 4th, roughly. Let's go to a vertical, and then let's go to the put side. All right, so if you got to March and you want to do like a 5-6 or even a 5 and 6, let's see if that even makes any sense. So if you got this, you'd need BBIG under $5 by March 4th. If it expires under 5 by March 4th, then you make $200 and you're going to risk $800. So it's not a great risk reward, but the probability of that is, I would say, pretty high, at least as of now. But who knows? That could change if this thing squeezes out crazy. So like if you play one contract, you'd make $20 versus risking $80. It's not the best risk reward there. You want to go to like a 4 or 5. If you played a 4 or 5, a $4 and $5 strike, and it expires under 4, by that expiration date, you make 37 and you risk 62, 38. You make 38 to risk 60. It's not bad, but it's not like a super appealing spread to me, to be honest with you. If you had to short it, then that's what I would do. But I mean, there's no need to necessarily short that. As long as it keeps holding trend for now, it could keep squeezing out. But my anticipation or my guess is that there's too many bag holders in that thing from way, way higher that it's going to really struggle to get back up into the double digits. I'd be very surprised if it gets there. Nothing against it. I'm not shorting it. But if it does get there, I would be very surprised if BBIG goes to 10. Lucid pulling back to that $40. It's going to be a fun one to see what happens tomorrow on that thing. All right, Neuro is kind of just not doing much. Could add a little bit more if I really wanted to, but I have a decent average, so I'm just going to leave it, and that's really that, and not worry about it. I could hold it overnight as long as it holds up. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I don't necessarily need to. I could take them my $10 and $15 and move on and not worry about it for tomorrow. So maybe that's what I'll do too. We'll see how it finishes up. IMRN. This is another one that I feel like I was looking at. Yeah, IMRN was a recent play. Guess what? Perfect play was these are some good bounce plays too. So the 50 SMA bounce right after a spike, right? The thing popped up to $4, pulled back to 325, just under 325. 50 SMA sitting here at 312. You can risk the 50 SMA on the daily chart, and boom, what do you got today? A nice bounce back. Solid. So again, right, like look at some of the other plays, like look at Neuro, right? And if we'll see what Neuro does, but look at Neuro, but here's the 50 SMA on Neuro is at like 625. So if it holds over 625 the next couple of days, that could be, your level to hold for a squeeze out into the, end of the week or next week or something like that. We'll see. SoFi, SoFi is one that I think I like for, I don't think I know I like it for the long term, but hey, it's in a really good spot. I think $12 could be your next support on SoFi, but I wouldn't be surprised if we keep seeing these drawdowns. It could go lower, right? Like anything else could, right? CHPT, same thing. I like under $15. I liked under $20. I mean, it could go lower, but in the current conditions in the market we're seeing right now, this stuff is all just continuing down lower and lower and lower. There will be, I anticipate there will be a snapback at some point, bounce day or week or whatever on some of these names. And so if you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, maybe I want to start scooping something up, then if you see a day where the thing is up 20% on any of these names, SoFi, ChargePoint, whatever, Robinhood is another one I think in the same category. They're up 20% one day. Scale something out, and you can probably rebuy shares below wherever you sell it. In the short term, they'll probably pull back. So that's how I would be playing it on those. Look at that. SPY rejection off of that level. Look at that. That would have been a nice trade. That really would have been. We'll see now if we get that. If we sell off hard into close or if we end up bouncing back. To some degree, but we're getting rejected there at that 460. That 460 was kind of our support, and then we couldn't break that in pre-market really today very much, and then we couldn't break over 459 really. So that 459 to 460 is kind of our resistance right now on the S&P. Pretty nasty, our little nasty candle. That's a nasty 5-minute candle, down from 457 down $1 dump 5-minute candle. Everything's crashing right now. Look at that. QQQ. Let's look at the tech plays down. This is going to new lows very, very soon. Look at that. It's like, oh, there it is. New lows of the day. Wow. That's a dump. That is a dump. IWM. What is IWM doing? IWM, not the lows. It bounced pretty good. Now it's, we'll see. It's potentially going to test those lows, but we'll see. IMMX. What is up with this guy? Interesting. I don't know much about it, but hey, if it holds up kind of in this little zone we're looking at right here, It's kind of a decent range down to 4. If it holds over 5, I kind of like that, but I don't know much about them. Biopharma company. These biotech plays are risk because what is the market cap? Market cap is 43 mil. Let's see if we can find it here. It had a nice run right recently. 44 million market cap. I just don't. These 4 million float, super low float. So there's a risk if you're shorting it, right? Obviously for a squeeze, but I don't know if it holds $5. I kind of like it, but there's a big gap. This thing can easily come back down to $4 or even lower, or it could just slowly bleed out. So just be careful if it can't hold 5. Don't be someone who's gonna if you're playing it for a short-term trade. Don't be the one that's just gonna slowly hold it all the way down. If you're playing it for a fundamental play or for a catalyst, or whatever, then yeah. Trade your plan and play for the catalyst. Don't just, sell it beforehand because someone told you to. But if this we've been seeing these setups just kind of like bleed out for weeks and months, and it could be a waste of time. So just be careful on that. If that's what we see. Come on, let's see a little squeeze out on Neuro. Come on. We dipped back down, hit the 650, and then bounced. 20 cents. Let's get a little pop to $7 and see what happens. But also on these types of plays, at least for me, SBEV was, I guess, I want to say an exception in terms of how much it ran. A lot of times they don't run that much. Go back to like last week on SBEV, where we had that same setup where we had the consolidation all day and then it started to push pretty much like right now. So yeah, like the last hour, honestly, the last 45 minutes into the close, it ran. So I'm expecting something potentially similar on Neuro. We'll see if we get it. But I'm always selling into that pop. And sometimes you get a pop and maybe it pops to just shy of the high of the day. And if you don't take profits into that move, you can easily find yourself just kind of, break even within, seconds or minutes because, a knife candle or the thing got crushed or whatever happened. So just be careful of that. It's kind of my rule and how I'm playing it. I'm not playing these things for 30% gains. I'm playing I'm playing my core swing strategy for that type of stuff. I'm playing this for 5-10% day trade. Hey, I'm making a few bucks and that's it. I'm happy with that. At least in this current market that we're dealing with, the current conditions we got right now. DAT's back at 350, so we'll have to watch that one into the close. BBI up, nothing crazy there. Same thing. It's been consolidating. BBIG dropped under 5, and then DWAC down to 85 now. So those are all kind of pulling in. BBIG and DWAC pulling in now for at least short term. Let's just see. BBIG, I'm curious. Well, it's at the trend line, so if you're looking for a bounce idea, it could be right here. But I'm just curious of options. Are these expensive? Let's just go look to single options on the put side or call side. So $5 calls for this week are going to run you about 60 cents. So that's implying you need to get to almost $6 to make money on that by the expiration, unless it kind of pops in the short term. And then the $5 puts are implying that you need to get this thing down to almost $4 to make money on those. So it's honestly even right here. You can play, but you can play an option strategy where you can play both. Buy the $5 calls, buy the $5 puts, and when one of them is going to go crazy, and one's going to be expiring worthless potentially, or BBIG finishes at 485 or whatever, and you pretty much lose on both, which would be a shame, but it's possible. Let's see. IMTE over 10. IMTE, man, let's see how this one plays out. It's a risk, right? But I think that this is going to be a $10 pop, and then I think we're going to see a dump one of these days. Carefully, though, I'm going to carefully add in. I'm looking to see if I can add in short on one of these pops somewhere up into the teens, ideally. $11. Maybe I'll be a little more cautious and I'll just add at 13. Back up to this spike. I might do that. I might wait it out and add at 13. So, okay, worst case scenario, I lose $300 on that play. It's fine. If it ends up going higher and I just stop myself out, $300 loss is fine. But if we take that to the downside, I think we can see some massive downside. So I'm playing for that pullback type of liquidation, just dump is what I'm looking for. We'll see. We will see. Neuro still struggling here at the 675 area. S&P, that definitely is not, well, it didn't go to new low. We didn't hit a new low there. QQQ, we hit a new low. So tech hit a new low briefly and then bounced a little bit. It dropped. So this is, I think tomorrow we could see this thing dumping. I mean, here's the thing. We bounce. I feel like a lot of people are going to play the exact same thing. This is going to hit, if QQQ hits 370, because it did that last week and bounced, maybe that's a good point for a bounce. And it could be a short-term bounce, but I'd be very cautious on getting, too uncomfortably long, in a sense, at that point. Why? Because if you do, the problem with this thing is that we can easily, in my opinion, see this thing flushing down to like the 365 range tomorrow or this week. So my risk reward isn't great on the short side now after I sold my puts from last week. But if we dump down to the 365, that's where I'd look to go long on QQQ or even SPY. Down SPY at 450 or so is a good spot to go long, I think. Because you'll probably see a lot of people fear-mongering and you'll see a lot of that stuff. And so let's see if I can find the put-call ratio. Call ratio. Is this a put-call ratio that I was looking at last time? Yes, here it is. Here's the put-call ratio. It's popped again. So from last week to this week, it's up a little more. But last time we hit a spike on the put-call ratio, essentially just meaning that there's now, the higher this value, the more bearish people are. So when these put-to-call ratios generally spike up, that signals, your bottom potentially could be in. And obviously there's a lot of other, macroeconomic factors at play, and there's a lot of other stuff that could happen, news that could happen overnight. But realistically, I think right now, unless something unexpected happens, I really don't see a ton more downside unless something unexpected happens and we get some unexpected news. I can see that's another, 2% down, 3%, maybe 5%, but I don't see a reason for it to go down much more than that, and unless there's something that changes. But the put-call ratio is popping back up. So again, go back here, December 3rd, we hit a 0.74. We're about about a tenth off from that December 3rd. Where was December 3rd? That was the literal bottom back in here. Okay, December 3rd was the literal bottom. So, and then we bounce, and then we kind of bounce lower and we push higher. But, same thing, right? We're getting back up to that point where we're seeing a lot of fear potentially. So I would be a little careful of, starting to go too heavy on the short side unless, you're playing it for a very short-term play or you're playing individual stocks. I think individual stocks have better risk reward short than the overall indices at the current levels. But we shall see. As always, right? Let's see. What I should have done is I had Starbucks as a swing idea, right, for March. And then when it fell below my level at that 104, which is a key level, I should have shorted it. I should have gotten puts, and I didn't. And then now look at this. 3 days later, the thing is, dumped. So that would have paid out nice. But hey, it is what it is. Nvidia is reaching 250-ish. Hope it drops to 20. Let's see. Where are we at? It's coming down. I mean, it's getting closer to the bottom end of this range. Our bottom end of our, channel or range is going to be down towards 250. If we break out of that, 200 SMA down towards 220, I think is a good spot. You could maybe even look to this level right here. Would be 230 to 220. 225, call it 225. Roughly like that is kind of what I'd be looking at if we get that, break down below the channel. But if we don't break below the channel, this could be a really good buy at 250 for a bounce back on a snapback trade on like a, on a tech bounce type of day or week. Let's say that's end of this week or next week. I don't know if that's what we get. This could go from 250 back up to 285 like that. It could be some really good calls for whenever that move establishes itself. But again, that's going to rely on the tech bounce. If we get a tech bounce, we will see. All right, Lucid, we got a cushion on that. So, look at that. It's going down. It's potentially going to test the lows of the day. It's like 30 cents off, 40 cents off from hitting the lows of the day. We'll see. I think this one, the thing about Lucid is really funny. So I think a lot of people are looking at puts, right? Down 6% today. You're cashing in nice. The reason why that may actually work out there's a lot of bearish sentiment, right, on social media that from what I could tell, just gauging just Twitter and whatever, just gauging that and feeling in the short term because of the lockup ending and whatever. And so essentially insiders can sell or dump shares. The founders, I guess, can dump shares. But there's also a huge cult following behind Lucid. And you have a massive cult, right, that a lot of them, to be honest with you, probably bought this thing, on the initial run, 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks, right? And then bought it back in here. And so there's a pretty big long biased cult behind it. I say cult, but whatever, a fan group, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of people who are long biased, just holding shares, right? And so in that sense, I kind of like the trade because even though maybe some traders or some short-term traders looking for a short-term opportunity are bearish, there's a lot of people who are still going to be holding long and saying, Lucid's going to go to the moon tomorrow and all that stuff. Now, hey, it's going to be a great long-term investment, I think. But tomorrow, this week, you got the fluctuations, and there are short-term catalysts like the lockup ending, that could cause pullbacks. And so that's what we're kind of seeing. And so it looks like to me, if this closes super low, super bullish, or super bearish down towards the lows, I think we could probably see tomorrow Lucid come down into that 37, even 36 range. Here's my daily range. So we had some support down around 36. I think we can see, 37 or even 36 tomorrow. If we do close towards the lows of the day here, I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like that. So that's what I'd be looking for on I have put. So those are up. What are they up? I only have one, but they're up. What do we got? We are up on those roughly like 20% so far. Should have got more. Should have got more when I could have, but we didn't. I also don't like necessarily swinging options very, very heavy. If I'm going to day trade an option like play like that, then yeah, I'd go heavier. But for a swing trade, anything can happen overnight. What if Lucid comes out with some crazy revolutionary news tonight because they know that, hey, they're about to dump shares, so they're going to drop some crazy news, and then they're all going to dump into that news come tomorrow morning, right? And so I don't know. I mean, you always got that risk, right? Alrighty, let's see. SBEV sitting up. Let's see. SBEV. Oh, wow, look at that. It held that box again. Held that 280, and look at that. Setting up again, a little squeeze out. Nice. Very nice. This one could be one of those that just kind of gets, well, it has been actually. Go back the past couple of days. It has been. It kind of held that trend, and it had a little pop right here on the 10th. Popped up from 1 to 2 almost, pulled back down to 150s, and then just grinded for like 3 days. It just kind of grinded before the pop again last Friday, and we head up to 434. We could go for more here. I think you're gonna see a lot of those, kind of one by ones. A lot of these, bottomed out small caps, right? Having a little pop, pull back off that initial pop, but they hold a nice higher low. They start building, and then they squeeze out again, and they have a bigger move. So that's where you can get 200% moves off these bottoms if you have some patience. And obviously I sell into the spikes, but you can even reload or sell a chunk of your shares. Okay, a higher low build, you establish, okay, now the stock is holding X as my support. If it drops below, I'll take off the rest for a trailing stop loss. And if it doesn't, and it keeps going, well, then I can lock in gains higher. So that's, I think, how a lot of these things are going to be setting up over the coming months. I think really you're going to see that. It could be just a slow, period of time where stuff just kind of one by one off bottoms, and a lot of stuff just kind of hits new lows and whatever and does its thing. Alrighty, let's see. Neuro is looking like it's just getting chopped. We'll see. I feel like the squeeze out potential here is becoming less and less for today. We'll see how it holds up though. But 650 area is still support for now. Grom, what's up with this? Look at that. Grom had a really nice push into the close, up 22%. This is kind of, look at that, right? The 50 SMA. That could be a spot for a short if you were looking to target a short on that one really quick. Again, towards the end of the day, it's a little risky on these low floats, but it's at the 50 SMA. Risk it to about 240, maybe 250, and that's decent risk reward there for a pullback. But you got to be quick on those though. So that's why I honestly kind of like options a lot more when it comes to that type of stuff, just for those quick moves, because You can get those extensions like this. For example, let's say you're looking at like a Tesla, or not. And Tesla's a little different. Let's say you're looking at like, I don't know, a large cap like AMD, right? And it spikes up into resistance. You can take a put at resistance. Same thing with a pullback, right? You can take a call at support. And then you get a quick flush through or a pullback from that resistance down, like, a little bit. Like in this case, you get a pullback of 2.5%, right? Is it enough? Unless you're in big size, it's not really that much. But again, this is the risk with the small caps on the short side is that, okay, well, this thing can just within one market buy be at $3, or $2.50 and whatever, and squeeze you right back out. And so on the option side of things, a large cap, unless there's news or whatever, most likely is not going to do that. You're going to have time to get in, get out, and set your risk parameters, and you're not going to be screwed because if enough volume came in right now on Grom, and all of a sudden the next candle is like, 1 million shares traded, you're going to get squeezed out if you went short. Even if you're at resistance, you're going to get squeezed out. SBEV halted up. Wow, look at that thing. Where is it at now? I'm surprised because it didn't halt last week, right? This thing didn't halt. It literally didn't halt. It maybe it did once, but this thing had some really solid moves. This is a big one though. That's a nice little, where is that? From that 285, you're up 18% in a matter of 15, 20 minutes. It's pretty sick. But let's see Neuro do that. Neuro can, but it's just chopping. It's just grinding and just exchanging. So I don't know. Maybe that's not setting up for much there. Let's see back into these guys. Yeah, I bought I forget how much, 1 or 2 of these Mesa calls. Again, these I'm still looking for a well over 100% move on Mesa. The $5 calls for the next, I guess 3 to 6 months time frame. If we get to $7, then yeah, we're going to have 100% move roughly, or 750. We're probably going to get 100% move if we can fill these 2 gaps, which I think is very doable. But if we go to 10, if it's something like that, then yeah, we're going to have a nice couple 100%er, I think, on that. So we will see. I would be very, very, very excited for that one this year, or the next couple months. All right, look at that. BBIG right off the trend line. Right off that trend line. Beautiful. Just dipped just under 5, bounced back 20 cents like that. DWAC back at 88, so it's pushing back up towards its highs. It's getting close, getting a little stuffy there, but it's getting close. DATS breaking, DATS hit 382, wow. But again, look at this. DATS, again, still putting in higher lows. It's trending up into the close. So honestly, guys, I have to say, with the market being as nasty as it has, right, the overall market, I think you're seeing that, I don't want to say rotation, but I think you're seeing that shift where people are saying to themselves, okay, screw this crap, right? Let's just go play small caps again, and they can go up on any day, right? Because it doesn't matter. Low floats can go up when the market's down 5%. Who cares? SPY could be down 10%. It could be halted. And I guess technically, the overall market, you can't trade anything. But I guess SPY could be, having a horrible day, down whatever, hit just shy of the circuit halt. But small caps could be popping, right? They could be. SPY looking pretty weak here. QQQ into the close. Probably went to new lows. Let's see. Yeah, it's close. QQQ wants to go for new lows. It's very, very close to doing it. Let's see if we get it. What did I have? I had expiring tomorrow. I had 378. So yeah, I sold them in the 6s. So I could have gotten another $100 technically out of it, but whatever. If anything, I should have re-shorted it at the VWAP area, or if I really wanted to, but didn't really care to do so. COTI sold 25% before. That's solid. On SBEV, it's going to resume. Is it about to resume any second here? Let's see. Look, it should be. Unless it's a 10-minute halt. No, it's back open. SBEV is back open. Let's see what it does. 350s possible next. Let's see. 335 now. And then what happened last time is it had that crazy move into the close. 340s now we're seeing. Crazy move into the close, and then that was the squeeze out. It did pop right into the close, and then that was it. Those are the highs. So we'll see if the same thing happens again. If it pops into the close, and then that's the highs, and then just fades off again tomorrow or whatever. COTI, let's see. Is that an OTC or is it a crypto? I don't even know. Not pulling up. Neuro. Just a full day consolidation. Nothing better than that, right? Just a full day of consolidation from 625 to 695, roughly. Just boring until it's not. A lot of these stocks are boring until they're not. Lucid, those puts are printing right now. Look at this. Lucid, oh wow, because it hit new lows. Yeah, I'm going to hold these overnight because I think we're going to be opening. We're setting up for a gap down tomorrow, and then I'll take that gap down. And I would like, if we get a crazy gap down on Lucid, if I see any sign of it holding up tomorrow, maybe like 36-ish area, 36, 37 area, I would be looking to go with calls. I'd go long, for a short term, bounce or even a bigger term bounce. I would be looking at calls there. Just because I think everyone might be waking up tomorrow and playing puts because it's already down. They're going to be kind of missing the move. They're going to be already on the wrong side of things. I'd be cautious on that. So that's kind of how I just looking at it psychology wise, I kind of see that's how I would be potentially positioning myself on that guy. IMTE. I started in with a tiny short. We'll see. I'm looking to potentially add at 13, double it, and then that's the cut point. So we'll see. I expect this thing to die, but it doesn't have to. Any big pullbacks though, like it had a pullback this morning down to like sub 8. If it drops down sub 9, I'm going to take profits on that. I can always get back in, but if it does that same thing like tomorrow, like I'll take it off. I probably can't even get any more shorts. Let's just see. If I try to get some, can I even do it? Nope. Well, buying power is inefficient, I guess, because you have to have certain leverage. So I guess I have to sell my Lucid puts or something like that. Whatever. We'll see when the time comes if I need to add in, or I'll get out of Neuro. I guess I'll free up some capital. Because when you're shorting, you're going to need more. Like you may have tons of cash. You may have a couple $1,000s of cash in your account, but if you're looking to short something like that, they're not going to allow you to, essentially, because you are shorting, a low float or whatever. Grom. Nice little building into the end of the day. So I'm saying, like, again, there's some stocks like IMTE. Well, that's, I guess, a different situation. But Grom, right, pushing up off the bottoms today. SGBX pushing up off the bottoms today and consolidating. Neuro was a little news play. ATVI was Activision. That was bought by Microsoft. DWAC, nice. IMRN. Like, there's some decent little movers. DATS off the bottom. There's some decent little movers today on small cap land. I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest with you. It seems pretty good. I mean, we just need to see that the pre-market game, like I literally just haven't been even paying attention to pre-market because I don't care, and it's just like it's a waste of time, it seems like. But once some stuff starts making some big moves in early in pre-market and sustaining it into the open and being the runner of the day type of stuff, like that's when I think we're back to a normal small cap market. I guess I don't want to say normal, but like to somewhat of a normal market where you usually get one or two runners every day and they do kind of do the same deal, and it's like, okay, like they pop off news in the morning, they have a first pop, they pull back a little bit in pre-market, we'll see what happens into the open. The market opens, they halt up, right, and then they kind of pull back and then they kind of grind throughout the day. So I hope to see some more of that, but it's been boring for a while in terms of that side of things. We get some good runners, but it's been boring. Look at this. This looks disgusting for Lucid. I mean, this is a nasty look into the end of the day. Right, gaps down, kind of tries, has a big range today, right? From 39 back up to 41, 25, back down to like 39.50, back up to 41 almost, and then now it's just hard sell off down to 39. BBI is just consolidating right here into the close. BBIG, if that's what you mean, BBIG trend line for now, past since Friday, really has been just kind of holding this trend line. And we dipped down to that 495-ish area and bounced nicely. Very nicely off that trend line. Until these are fun though. The backsides are, have been really nice trades on a lot of these things. I can't say that we're kind of, I think a lot of people who are, I guess, perma shorts or perma bears, if you want to call them that, in small cap land who just short, they've had a tough time because we haven't had enough runners. I mean, those people are kind of looking for multiple stocks to be up over, 30, 40, 50% in a day, and then identifying and kind of letting the main player, the herd shift into one, and then finding those other one or two that will be those kind of faders that just kind of fade off quietly. Those are the best shorts for the people who do that, because it's a pretty, you just let it do its thing, and then once these things kind of get, taken down, it's like, okay. So, wow, look at SPY. Look at this. Going down for the lows, and then the Qs. 370. Wow, Qs are dumping here into the close. My 378 puts, man, they're $8 now. I sold them in the 6s. Jeez, Louise, man, down 2.5%. Let's look at IWM. IWM was holding up better in the afternoon, small caps wise. Let's see, IWM 2. It's not at the lows yet. It's close. Look at this though. IWM today made a new low going back to March 25th, 2021. If IWM goes under 207, looks like. No, that's not. 207 is the next area, and then 205. Under 205, you're getting back to like almost being, lower than the entire year than all the lows of 2021, which will be pretty impressive. But we will see. I think a lot of people look at this chart and they say to themselves, you look at this and you just think a cliff. And I agree. Like I agree with you that it doesn't look great, but it doesn't matter. Like IWM is small caps. If the market doesn't die, if SPY dies and SPY goes down and goes to the 200 SMA and goes to like 430, then yeah, IWM is going to dump pretty big. But if SPY holds up or bounces at some point relatively soon, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think. I think IWM is going to bounce along with it to a degree. Now, it's not going to be maybe perfect, but to some degree it will. So that's my caution on that, of just thinking that, okay, I'm going to target IWM back down to the 2019 highs or, the 2020 highs, whatever, down to like 170. I think it's not like, hey, it can't happen. It can easily happen, but I think you would need some big, huge event, or it would just need to be a prolonged sell-off for months for us to hit those levels. I just don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So there'll be many bounces along the way, ultimately. DraftKings, I like Penn more than DraftKings, but I'll look at the chart, though. I personally, they're both trading very similarly, so it sucks, but whatever. I think DraftKings, we can see if we get some more pushback, this could come down to $20. That's my next kind of area to watch on DraftKings. I do like it. I mean, Kathy Wood's been buying, right? Or at least she has a chunk. I like it, but I don't know, man. It's been just a pain. So, the way you play these types of things is like, this is going to give you enough return if it does turn in just shares, or you buy calls, but you buy leaps. You give yourself a year plus. Do not play a call out to next month for the reversal. Yes, you could play like next month calls if you're just looking for like, okay, I think we're going to get a tech bounce, we're going to get a growth bounce, and I'm playing it for that. Yes, that's fine. And those could be crazy killers. But like if you're playing this thing and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to buy some, $35 calls. If you're going to buy anything that far out of the money, you need to buy a ton of time, really. And it's going to be expensive. So, I mean, I don't think it's worth it. I just would buy something around the money or even $20 strike price. Let's look at how much they cost. If I were to play DraftKings out for a year, right, some leaps out to January of 2023, January 20th, and I bought the 20s, they're $7. It's not bad. That's actually pretty cheap in my opinion. $7, $7.20 you can get them for, so $7.25 roughly. So yeah, you need this thing to be at essentially, if in a year DraftKings is not at 27 to $30, well, it's got to be over. If it's over 27, you're going to be break even. If you're at $30, you'll make 25, 30%, whatever it is, 50%, something like that, which is nice. But you roughly got to target like $30 as your level. So I think if we get this thing a little bit lower, man, then those could be looking really nice. But again, this has been selling off for so long. A lot of people, even including myself on Penn, I bought some leaps premature. But did I know it was premature at the time? No, I didn't know. Right? Who knew that the sell off was going to be prolonged this much, right? But I bought those, and I'm holding those for 2023. So I mean, I got time on those, and I bought. I think on Penn I have 50s. Penn I bought 50 call. I might buy one more, to be honest. If they get super cheap, which they are pretty cheap, I bought the $50 calls on Penn out to 2023. So we got a year on those, and we'll see how it goes. Hardly no pre-market runners have held with current market conditions. Yeah. But I was saying BBI held strong from pre-market highs. I'm in on BBIG at 340. Let's see. BBI. Go back to this guy. Yeah, no, it did. It from 20 cents to 33. Then it pulled back. Kind of the same deal, right? But it pulled back, but it's still up a good bit from where it was. And then it held into the moment. That's the type of setup that we used to see a lot. But we just haven't seen these types of moves, like at all. Neuro doesn't look too nice into the close here, but it's still in that consolidation. Roughly like 2 cents up on my average, so whatever. Just chilling on that for now. QQQs bounced a little bit right there. Got a nice like 70-cent bounce on the Qs. Pretty nice. Little volatility into the close. Nothing wrong with that. Lucid puts. What are we looking at here? 225 to 230-ish. What's Lucid? Well, Lucid probably bouncing with the market a little bit here. LCID into the close. Yeah, same, pretty much the same exact candle. It hit 39 on the nose and then it just bounced. If I had 2 of these contracts, yeah, I would have dumped one, but I'm going to hold one overnight. Looking for a gap down idea play on that. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't happen, it's one contract. It's not like I'm sized in that thing at all. Let's see. This thing is this is going to be really wild to see when this thing dies. Let's go back to Craig. What's Craig doing today? Oh, it's starting to crack. It seems like Craig is cracking. Not a lot of volume, but it's a very similar move to IMTE, right? Very similar move, and then it's starting to crack. I wouldn't be surprised if Craig comes in pretty soon here. It's a low float, though. What's the float? Let's see. The float on Webull is saying 3.5 mil. It's pretty low. That seems pretty low. Craig. 50% insider own. It's a China company. 3.5 million float. Yeah, so that's a super low float. But it's just like, again, when you see something like this, it's super weird. Like what is this? Like, what is this? From mid-December to mid-January. Like, what is that? It's just algorithm on that thing. JUPW. Jupiter Wellness. Let's see. 75 cents, new low today. Let's go to FinViz and see what we got here. Maybe get some more info out of them. Let's see. $18 million market cap. Some of these market caps that we're seeing now are just insane. Now, obviously, these companies that do like $1 million in sales a year, I guess it's warranted and they could go lower. But like $18 million market cap is just like, we haven't seen that a lot of stocks with, sub 30, sub 20 million market caps compared to like, if we just go look, I don't know if I necessarily like it. It's an $18 million float. I don't know anything fundamentally about them. They issued a letter to shareholders on the 10th. Let's see what this says. They acquired Next Frontier Pharmaceuticals. They believe this will transform them into a leading pharmaceutical cannabinoid company. Okay, so it's a cannabis play. Interesting. Pharmaceutical cannabis play, I guess, which is kind of cool. I kind of like those. I kind of like some of those stocks. The problem is they gotta up their numbers and they gotta have some nice earnings coming out, or else this thing is gonna just die, or it's gonna keep just fading off. So. I mean, I'm not a big fan unless there was a fundamental reason that I liked it. I'm not a huge fan, right? So that is my take on it. Let's see, any insider buying? Yeah, there were some insiders who bought in the 140s, 130s. Nothing crazy size though. CEO bought, but he's down like 50% on those since those buys, so that's pretty nasty. I guess on that. But yeah, if you go to the screener tab on FinViz, right, and you just go look for, I'll go to any exchange. I'll go to market cap of under, let's go micro, under a 300 million market cap, and you sort by lowest to high. Look at how many stocks that you're seeing even under a 10 million market cap. There's 14 stocks under a $10 million market cap. I mean, maybe that, I guess everything is different, but like the reality behind a lot of these, and a lot of them probably won't have any news, or may not. But the reality is that you're one PR or a squeeze or article, who knows, away from these things just exploding. A couple 100%, because they're low floats, they're tiny market caps. These things could explode. If you go back in here, just look at this. Like this list goes on for, let's see how many stocks we can get under a 50 million market cap. We're looking at you're looking at, in this case, let's just see how many we're up to. Getting close, 25 pages. Yeah, here we go. 25 roughly. So you're at you are dealing with 500 stocks now under a 50 million market cap. It seems like it's a lot. I guess compared to the COVID market, right? And there was no stocks under that level. That's a lot, at least to me. Relatively speaking, in a relatively short period of time, that's dramatically dumped. So we got a little hard sell off here on Neuro into the close. Ooh, interesting. I still like it as long as it holds the low of today. So I'm going to play it versus that. As long as it holds today's lows, 27-ish, 525-ish really is where I'm going to risk. That's my risk. I'm looking for that. And I'm ideally was looking for 7+. So I'm going to stay in until that level hits. Again, risking 25 cents for a 50+% move is what I was wanting to get. So that is why I'm going to stay in there for now. I have an alert set in case it dumps. CENN. Look at that, just dump off a cliff. What do they have here? What do they got? Oh, it's formerly Naked Brand. Okay, this is formerly NAKD. I forgot about that. I don't know. The thing is, it's like it could so run and be like kind of one of those. I don't want to say it's a meme because it's not. The ticker symbol changed kind of takes the meme factor away, honestly. But the thing was, it's down a lot. And they went to the EV space. They'll probably put out a PR, and I could see it run at some point. People will all be like, oh, yeah, this is formerly NAKD. Yeah, I could run. So I don't know, but I'm not a big fan personally, but it's down 12% today. Man, it's getting destroyed. It's getting absolutely annihilated. Try to have a nice day on Friday, and then it just got all those gains given back and some today, down 12%. So I guess SSR has short sell restrictions on for tomorrow, so could be a bouncer tomorrow. Microsoft deal, how long? I don't know. I really haven't followed Microsoft as, to be honest, that close. Let's look at Microsoft. How did they react to that today? I feel like they didn't react very much at all. I think it doesn't. I think stock wise, I don't know how much of a player that's going to be. This is probably going to play with the overall markets. To be honest, it's going to be more of a mover with the overall markets. You think it's going to dump back to 1? It could on CENN. Let's look at it here. It could over time, but I would imagine there's just no data. I would imagine you're probably going to get a pop at some point on these things. They always do. I mean, this has been such a huge sell-off. You're probably going to pop maybe to 4 or 5 at some point before it fades back off to 1. But I would say that, if I had to guess, it'll probably see $1 at some point in the future. Coming months and years, I think it's pretty fair to say that it will, even after the reverse split. Because what are they? They're where's the market cap? They are a 700 million market cap, and they like in the EV space, they have no sales, right? Like they have, I mean, I don't know, maybe they have some, but I mean, I don't know, unless they can actually pull some sales. I don't see that being a great long-term play unless, I knew something insider, information, right? That most of us don't have access to. $12 average. I see. Yeah, honestly, I don't want to say that like, oh yeah, just, you're better off just dumping it here. If it was me, I'd probably just dump it here, but it can and probably will be up at some point in the future. You're going to look back and say, oh man, it's spiking to 10, or it's spiking to 5, it's spiking to 7, and I could have got a better, sell. Yeah, you can, but how long is that going to be? How mentally draining is that going to be on you? Is it worth dealing with that stuff? I don't know. It's up to you. But for me personally, it wouldn't be, so I would just get rid of it. But that's just me. But that's how a lot of these, I mean, and especially in the market conditions we're seeing right now, in the current conditions, this can go down a lot more. But in normal conditions, you'll probably get, with a pullback to this degree, right? You're down like 70% from the reverse split or whatever, or from the trend line crack. You would get, these will, and they usually do get a squeeze out. They get they get run so that whoever's in gets out. They make a few bucks, or they, minimize their loss, and then they'll, let the thing die the next, 6 months. Let's see. Neuro is getting, it's unfortunate. That's not a great close there, to be honest with you. Let's see if it holds, but minute to the close. I would probably imagine this is going to dump off in after hours. We'll see. 25K in the trade. Yeah, I know. It sucks, right? And in the same, I had a similar situation, I would say. With AHT. Yeah, AHT was my I think AHT was probably the stupidest trade I have made. Maybe not ever, but it's probably the stupidest trade that I have made in the past 12 months. I bought into this thing, obviously it pulled back, so I started buying a little bit of a pullback, but I bought in I got a horrible average. They did a reverse stock split and an offering, and I stayed in through both. And the thing just it didn't bounce. It just died even further, and then eventually got out. Stupidest thing. But I cut that loss somewhere up in this range after all that. And then, it worked out because guess what? Even though it's kind of slowing down the pace of the decline, right? From that point, it's down another 58%. So I freed up whatever money was left and I moved on. It sucks to do, but sometimes you just got to do it. And it's better. You're going to feel a lot better when you do that, when you kind of cut a bag like that. I don't want to have stuff like that going forward, to be honest with you, in terms of this coming year. Strategy wise, I have no intentions of holding any big bags like that. I'm going to be averaging into my positions differently. I'm fine holding something down 25% from my initial entry, right? Because my secondary entries, my secondary or third and fourth and fifth adds will be strategic so that I'm not going to be down 25%. I'm going to be down 10% max, maybe 15 max. But in my situations, I'm holding for, a fundamental bigger picture move on most of my swings. That's how I'll do it. So I'm fine with that. But, that's just personally how I'm planning on doing things in 2022. The risk holding through reverse. Yeah. No, I know it sucks. It sucks to sometimes to just cut these things off, right? But it's sometimes it just has to be done, right? It's much better mentally and overall count, right? You're going to have clear up some cash and stuff. All right, so market today, pretty nasty. I mean, pretty interesting little bounce, little choppiness into the close, but we're down 1.75%. The Dow, that was the S&P. The Dow is down 1.5, and the NASDAQ down 2.6. Ooh, that's pretty nasty. Yeah. Going back here, what do we got across some of the breadth indicators, right? So overall market, over 7,000 stocks declined today, 1,200 advanced. And I am happy to say that two of my small caps were up. Look at that. VISL, hey, I mean, only down a percent. I can't complain with that. My worst small cap was only down 2%, which is not that bad. It's not that bad in a day like this. It's pretty impressive. New lows over 1,100, 1111. 1,111 stocks hit new lows today. 216 hit new highs, and 70% on the nose are below the 50 SMA, whereas 30% are above. And 64% below the 200, whereas 36% are above the 200 SMA. Here's a visual representation of the day, and it's pretty nasty. Energy, oil and gas plays are doing pretty well. Some health plays are doing decent. Verizon and AT&T had some little perks today. Activision with the Microsoft news had a nice little day. Visa was up about 0.5%, whereas most of the other credit plays and financial plays were down. Banks got destroyed. Banks are really not doing well through the earnings session, which is, unfortunate. But they did have some decent runs, so we can't knock some of the decent runs, the runs that they've had over the past couple of months. So in a rising rate environment, these could be potentially some decent dip buys in the banks, and we'll see how that plays out going forward. But that's that. And in terms of after hours, let's see what we have. Anything moving? If nothing's moving, we can casually just wrap things up. So we'll do again. I'm going to do another live tomorrow, and I will not be around on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I'll be back Sunday. So we'll see if I have to do the trading stocks to $100,000 video, essentially the portfolio update. I may have to do that on Sunday, and I'll just do it include it in the live stream. May just do that. Maybe not, and we'll get a video out Saturday like usual. If not, it'll be out this weekend, or at least we'll cover it in the Sunday video and in the live stream, and it'll be fine. I'm fine with that. But let's see, are we up this week? Yeah, whoa, shoot. Up $1,300 today. That's pretty good. Where is that coming from? Let's see if I customize today. I'll just see where that comes from, and then we'll get a feel for that. Okay, so up $1,300. We had the QQQ puts. We had the IWM puts. Those were killers. Spirit Airlines. I don't know if that actually was up, but maybe just a little error there. So maybe it's not up as much. SPY puts, killer there. NVOS. But yeah, I mean, across the board, though, it looks like I just had a lot of decent wins. And Penn we had, I guess it was up because I day traded Penn today too. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna complain with that at all. So maybe that's a little incorrect. Maybe they're just pulling off. The numbers are slightly off in terms of the. And now look at that Penn. Penn had some good buying into the close. Penn had some really good buying into the close. That's very interesting there. Just something to note. Just looking back at this, very notable compared to the prior closes the past like 3 or 4 days. That is substantially more volume. This last candle, 500,000 shares, 500,000 shares at the close, which is a normal, the market close and market open are the most volatile times. A lot of shares are exchanged. But at the close today on Penn, we had a candle of 1.1 million and then another candle of 700,000. So that is a significant volume little push into the close. So that's something to note for the rest of the week on that. Sells, buys, I don't know. But that is that. So I'm not going to complain with the portfolio being up $1,300 today, and the market was probably had one of its worst days in a while, right? So that's pretty good. That said, thanks so much for watching, guys.